I am curious, yes, sir. I'm curious about, so we talked a little bit about, the staff members and getting staff members involved and the kind of ins and outs of that. I am curious about your experience. You mentioned at the very beginning the concept of generations, right? And I think you said 3 to 5 years, you have a new sort of generation that moves through the school. And I'm just curious about any stories, do you have, if we're keeping with that idea, like the alumni that come back every once in a while and say, hey, Master Nevels, it's so-and-so. And I just think about high school or elementary school and graduating and going back to your elementary school and saying, I just graduated, thanks for all this. I'm just curious about any stories you might have of those experiences of students returning either to train or either to just say hello and check back in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm really big on the concept of legacy and I actually talk to my staff about this, is not necessarily your legacy, like, Kevin Nevels' legacy. It's what legacy are you leaving behind? What are you instilling in others that you want passed on? And, whether they do martial arts, and I tell my leadership team and my instructor team this, is whether you decide to make martial arts your career or you go on and you're going to go study, you're going to be a doctor or, whatever that profession is, what lessons can you take in your martial arts and help that be a driver for the rest of your life? To me, that's really big. I'll give you an example of one, since you asked for a story. We had a young man. He started training with us in year 2 of our school. His mom and daughter came in for a self-defense class that we taught. They loved the idea. They loved, we connected really well, signed up the son, and the son and the dad actually started taking class. And then about 3 years later, the mom started taking class. The daughter never started taking class, but we'll forgive her for that. But what's great is that we had a great relationship with that family. They trained for about 6-7 years, and then they kind of dropped off for a little bit. And then mom came back and started training. And then dad kind of came back. He got hurt, so he had to bail out again. But then the son had come through. He became an instructor. Then he became an employee. He graduated high school. He was a great instructor. Graduated high school, went to Baylor University, spent a couple years there, figured it wasn't for him. He actually came back to Dallas, went to UTD. And then his last semester of UTD, he started coming around again and wanted to make that connection and was like, hey, I'd love to kind of start training again, and you're like family at that point. You've been training with me for that long and I know your family. I was like, come on in. To be very honest, I didn't even worry about tuition. Come on in, start training. Let's kind of get you back in. Rekindling that relationship turned into an internship. He was looking for an internship for his final semester, and he was doing an entrepreneurial class. So I was like, hey, come in, I'm an entrepreneur. We've got this this business that we built. Come on in. So he interned for us. That internship actually turned into a full-time job where he's now a program director at one of our schools. And so for me, investing in that relationship with your staff, and it's important that you never burn a bridge. And I teach my staff members this about not burning bridges. I don't want to burn bridges with my students. And if there's any other school owners that listen to this, is that it hurts to lose students. Anybody who has ever done this knows it hurts to lose students. And, people may not think that, they're like, oh, they're just worried about, getting that billing check and stuff like that. That's not it. We spend a lot of time and effort. I talked earlier about building authentic relationships, right? That takes time. It takes commitment. It takes a personal investment. And when somebody leaves, whether it's on good terms or bad, it still hurts. Yeah. But I always try to make sure that if somebody leaves, it's on good terms, because if I can have that unicorn story of somebody coming back and they're able to be a part of, the company, and then now they're able to give back through martial arts with their career, I'm all about that. I want to be a part of that story every time.